Everybody, I am back with another movie review for the month of October. And this one I've been eager to talk about because I've seen this movie quite a few times growing up. And it's the stop motion movie Coraline, which honestly is a huge hit to the point where it's one of those films that people all over would like to go dressed up as, because you see like somebody sewing buttons on their eyes, not literally, but you know what movie they're referencing. It's like similar to every time you see like a Superman symbol, you know it's a DC thing. It's just like it got that popular, and honestly, incredibly written. And every time people rewatch this, there's always subtle things happening in the background you don't pick up at first, especially when somebody actually points out to you. After you look at it, you can't help but not see it because it's like so finely detailed, where it is just like incredible in its own right. Ignore that alarm. It's directed by Henry Selick, who of course is responsible with directing Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, things of that sort. Very critically acclaimed stop motion films. Honestly, I would love the voice acting in one of his films. It's just like I love a lot of his films. He's done an incredible job. Based off a Neil Gaiman book of the same name, and fun fact, one of the characters calls Coraline Caroline, which is something that initially the character wanted to be called, but somebody made a verbal mistake, but decided to go along with it because it kind of matches everything else, and wanted the character to be kind of unique. Because how many kids out there who got this name Coraline? It's like, yeah. So went with Coraline. It all fit perfectly. So it stars Dakota Fanning as Coraline. She's done a lot of she's one of the most famous young actresses in history that kind of really grew her into her own as an actress. You might remember her as the voice of just a double check, because she was in the Twilight Saga as well, but no one wants to speak of that. She was in 2003 Cat in the Hat. She was the young girl in Man on Fire. She was in the Uptown Girls. Can you believe she's 30 years old? Like, my God. Yeah. She voiced Lilo from Lilo and Stitch. I had to double check because I do not want to misconstrue that, but she voiced Lilo in Lilo and Stitch too. Um, uh, she was in that movie Push with Chris Evans. Uh, yeah. Um, she was in the Equalizer 3. She was in Ocean's 8. Really? Uh, yeah. So yeah, she has done a lot of work. But like primarily, you know, she has a lot of accolades in the voice acting world. So she's done an impressive job over the years. Really, no notes, honestly. Also, one of my personal favorite versions of Lois Lane, Terry Hatcher, who voices Coraline's mom, Melanie. Can you believe? Because Coraline always feels like Cher. It's just that one word, but I forget she has the last name Jones. Coraline Jones. Like, I don't know. It just feels like when something like unique as Coraline, I half expect some kind of unique last name to really make it pop. The first name pops. The last name seems so regular smegular. It's like not like Zeminski or anything like that, but it's like, I don't know, something very twisty wisty type of last name that kind of matches Coraline. I don't know, but it's just like Jones seems so basic. But anyway, uh, we got John Hodgman as Charles Jones, the father. Jennifer Saunders as Miss April Spink. Dawn French as Miss Miriam Forcible. Ian McShane as Mr. Sergei Alexander Bombinsky. Robert Bailey Jr. as Wyborn Wybe Lovat. Caroline Crawford as Mrs. Lovat, his grandmother. And Keith David as the cat. Doesn't even bother to give the cat a freaking name, but whatever. And like I said, the animation in this, yes, of course it's stop motion, but it's what you do with that stop motion really kind of, if you elevate something that's stop motion and do something unique with it, it really makes it stand out, in my opinion. I'm always fascinated by animation in terms of movies and TV shows. It's just something I always find so intriguing. Like, you take something like the Spider-Verse movies, where it isn't just, 3D drawn animation. You're also incorporating like Band-Aid dots, like something from a comic book, but also incorporating almost every version of animation style and art design known to man to encompass different facets of universes that elevates the movie from beyond just the standard one that you're familiar with. That makes the that type of movie not something just basic run of the mill, in my opinion. What you do with it really kind of make you shine, and that's what Coraline does in my eyes. It you start off with something like, because it's very much like a the Wizard of Oz type of thing. You see Coraline go to a different world, and the real world is, starts off very drab and lacks kind of lacks color here and there. While the other world that she travels to is got vibrant colors, but it gets more vibrant to the point of violent colors. To really make it like, oh, these colors are going to eat you kind of thing. It's like that, like, okay, that makes this entirely like a unique thing. But anyway, Coraline and her family moved to Oregon in this Victorian apartment where they share with these other tenants. These two former stage play actresses that lives below them, while way at the top lives this older Russian a man who used to be part of the circus, I guess, but also prior to that was a Liquidator was. Yeah, it was like a eccentric Russian liquidator turned gymnast who owns circus mice. And if you don't know, liquidators were Chernobyl residents who were uh, uh, the civil and military personnel who were called upon to deal with the consequences of the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster in the Soviet Union. On the site of the event, liquidators were widely credited with limiting both the immediate and long-term damage of the fallout. So that really, like, if you pay attention, he wears like a medal, which is legit type of medal that was given to liquidators for their service in cleaning up the catastrophe that happened with the Chernobyl thing. Even the fact that he offers people beets and he tried to plant beets. Beets is supposed to is a natural thing that helps reduce radiation poisoning. That I only just recently learned of that information. You also see just by his skin tone that he probably was slightly affected by, while doing his job. So of course the whole discoloration isn't just for laughs or anything like that. It's just like those fine details like that is what I'm talking about, that you didn't pick up on that at first. Even with the whole thing about the metal, you wouldn't at first pick up on little subtle things like that, which is a mark of a great director and good sets of writers involved. You don't have to spell it out. You just allow the audience, because you don't play them like they're idiots or they need a handheld. You just, if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they'll figure it out later or somebody will tell them. But we're gonna, put this in, but don't spell it out for people, which is a mark of a good writer. But Coraline eventually, well, before I get into Wybie, Coraline is handled very well here in terms of, even though it's not live action, but in terms of like movie children, she does this character is amazing, where she behaves just like any kid. That's like, who seemingly got a lot of energy and doesn't know where to put it, kind of situation. She likes spending time with her family, but her family. Let me get to her parents really quick. Now, growing up, like a lot of people, I did not care for these parents because why are you neglecting your kid who clearly just wants to spend time with you guys? But as I got older, I realized these, parents, are going through some kind of situation, and they're, have the, reach to the point where they have to move. They're trying to unpack and everything like that. So honestly, they're, very realistic parents. Only caveat I give it is just like, they don't really like do the obvious or at least necessary steps to make good with the daughter, because clearly they have been neglecting the daughter for quite some time in the film. But they clearly love the daughter and want to make sure she has a good life. But see, they're writers. They're trying to get themselves situated. They clearly haven't unpacked yet, so they kind of just exhausted to the point where it's like they just cannot, don't have the extra spare energy to devote to pay attention to the daughter while she's just, got nothing to do. To the point where the dad does what a lot of parents have done to their kids at some point or another. Like, why don't you count this, and get back to me once you're done. Just trying to give them, he's trying to give his daughter busy work, clearly. And it's like, most kids pick up on that. I was one of those kids that kind of picked up on that, and it's kind of drove me crazy because it's like, I know what you're doing. You don't have to insult my intelligence. Like, I'll just go to my room and just like play with my toys or play video games, I'll just get out of your hair. You don't have to insult my intelligence by telling me to count something or whatever. And so they could like not overworked workaholics like most animated parents turn out to be. Uh, these clearly are just because I think like the parents in like Inside Out are played decently, and I kind of wish they kind of by the end of the film get towards that, which they kind of do, but not exactly. But I guess that's a different type of tone than what we're getting from Coraline. But the parents is just like, I understand it. I just kind of wish they kind of do the necessary steps to make right with the daughter, because clearly she just, seeking their attention and kind of pushes her in a direction that they ultimately did not want her to go to. And it's kind of on them. But anyway, the mom shows this doll that looks like Coraline with the sewn up button eyes that we saw in the opening of the film, which I never recalled because it's been like a long time since I've seen Coraline, and I completely forgot how the opening of this film started, where this mysterious figure is sewing together this new doll that looks like Coraline and just throws it into the ether to be found later. Nice little setup, honestly. But this neighbor kid, who is the grandson of the landlord of the property, YB shows up, and he drops. He's the one that dropped off the doll because it looks like her, and don't know how he even know who she looked like. Were you around or off to the side? We don't see him until later on when she's walking through the woods and shows up wearing like a mask and riding on his little bike, terrifying her. So he introduces himself, and I like the design of YB, even though he's not part of the main book. He's originally created for the film, because the writers need somebody for Caroline to bounce off words with, when instead of just spending the most of the film talking amongst herself. Doesn't work that way in their eyes. So we got this character YB, who I love the design of YB. I love the character, honestly. He's not annoying. He's just played like a regular kid, whereas like, he's a chatterbox, but he's a charming chatterbox, where he just like ride on his motorcycle. He's introducing himself. He of course, a little stalkerish a bit, but he approaches her and like invites her to like into his like into a space, like, hey, like, we can do this and the other. It's like he's like a good friend to Coraline. And I don't know why, but I always liked the way he just leans his head, like he's always like, looking at the world through like a different perspective kind of thing. That's just my own personal assessment. It's never been like confirmed about that. It's just something I'm just picking up by body cues, honestly, because he just leans his head, and it's, I don't know, it's like it's something about that body work just kind of works for the character, in my opinion. And they kind of bond over the fact that this stray cat constantly shows up in the area. But Coraline's relationship with her parents is like a little tenuous a bit, where they're not like giving her the focus that she requires. She's 11 years old and because eventually she does not won't like the idea of spending time with her parents. She's gonna want to go out and do her own thing, but at this point she likes spending time with her folks. And they're going shopping for her school uniforms, and she wants these little gloves because while she has to be forced to wear drab school uniforms, she wants to stand out. She wants, like to be her. But the mom, you know, is like not trying to hear it. She's not trying to hear it. Like, we're only getting these uniforms because you're going to be going to school soon, and that's all there is to it. Very dismissive of the kid, honestly. And I get it. You know, parents does not always have to give you everything that you see that's like drawing your attention. But I think like a pair of gloves that she thought looks good on her. It's not really like a harm to it, and it's not exactly some crazy expensive toy. She could just want to express herself as much as she can, despite the circumstances. Uh, um, but it's kind of pushes her away when the parents behave in a particular way, like you're like got zero time for the kid, or it's like every time the kid speaks, it's like you're so annoyed by it or something. And I get it. She can be a little bit of a brat too, but I kind of like it. Like when she's trying to get her father's attention, she like creaking the door, just moving back and forth, and just that little smug look she gives is like that. I can't help but laugh at that because it's like, God, you're a little shit. So it's kind of funny. But this just the whole entire thing just I like the way it sets up the wedge is drove between her and the parents. When she discovers this doorway in the house that's bricked up, but later on that night is like a passageway that she goes through, and she discovers this other world where she meets these doppelgangers of her parents with buttons on their eyes, which honestly, I'm a little bit shocked by the lack of reaction to seeing something like this, because I'll be a little bit more freaked out, and she's a little bit too easy to accept it. She's surprised, don't get me wrong, but if I see somebody with buttons for eyes in this weird looking world, I'll be a little bit more freaked out. Personally, I was like, dude, what the fuck is up with your eyes? What, like, God, stay the freak away from me, kind of thing. No, that's not normal on any level. But also, I get a bit of a Hansel and Gretel type of scenario. If you've read the book of Hansel and Gretel, you know how the story goes, where she goes here, and not only these doppelgangers are so like all about the kid, and it's like, we love you, Coraline. It's like, yay, Coraline. It's like the biggest cheerleaders of this little girl ever, which she finds very enticing because she's so deprived of that. It's not like the parents are totally neglecting her. They still like making sure there's a roof over her head. She got clothes on her body, food on the table, if you can call it food. It's just like, because I guess they're going through a tough time, so luxuries like groceries is going to be a little scarce. At least edible stuff is going to be a little scarce. Like, you couldn't spring for ramen at least. Jeez. But here it's just like I said, Hansel and Gretel. He's like enticing this kid with food and all these drinks like smoothies and all this other stuff, which she's just indulging on. I was like, how do you get the food here? Is this like magic, or are you actually slaughtering, legit livestock here or something? It's kind of wild to me. But you get all these cakes, pies, drinks, and whatever she wants is here for her. And like I said, I can't help but think about Hansel and Gretel, where like the witch just like getting this, or not even Hansel and Gretel, it gotta be Hansel and Gretel, the one with the witch with the candy for her house kind of thing. It's just like enticing kids into a trap. It's clearly like a massive trap, which Coraline, not going to blame her. She's 11 years old. She's not going to question it. On top of the fact that it's like, she kind of sick of her parents' kind of attitude. So she is being treated so well. And she goes to bed. She wakes up in the normal world. And it's like, now it's like she can't help but think about the fact that, man, my real mother kind of sucks with this other mother. Wow, she gives me the attention that I need. And it's like, and of course, she's a small little girl. And it's like, and of course, she's going to act like a total brat because you can't really, despite her trying to explain things to her parents or even convey her feelings, I guess, either the parents are dismissive of it or she just maybe not articulating in a way that's, coherent. So she can express nothing but just passive aggressiveness. Whereas like my other mother would have, gave me this or whatever. It's kind of like those kids you hear, whereas like, I don't know, it's like, my uncle and auntie allowed me to stay up past 12 kind of thing. Cause it's like you're dealing with a cool parent kind of situation that isn't restricting you in any kind of way. Or is not giving you no's, that you're always getting the yeses. This, no matter what the situation is. So the next time she's back in the real world, she hears from YB about how like when his grandmother was a young kid, her twin sister, I don't know if it was a twin, but her sister went missing and was never heard from her again. And upon like further research, this grandmother had a tough time renting because she's been not selling to anybody with children, which kind of shocks me that she allowed to rent the space with a couple with their single child. Maybe she assumed, because she knows what's happening. I don't know why she didn't bulldoze the entire freaking place at all. But she avoided renting space for anyone with children just to avoid another scenario, or at least, any family suffering the same fate as her family did when her sister went missing when they were young kids. But why didn't you just, not sell it properly, but bulldoze the entire place or something or other? Just burn the place to the ground, like collect the insurance. I don't care. It's like this place is like clearly sitting on top of some bed of evil. But it when Coraline gets back into the other world, she finally meets up with the cat again, who's able to slip through because some kind of mystical power is the cat can go between worlds. And the cat, voiced by Pete Davidson, like Keith David, who expressed to her that this is what it seems. It's kind of like what's that phrase? If it's too good to be true, it probably is, kind of situation. And tries to warn Coraline about this place, but she at first is kind of dismissive because she's having too much of a good time and she's getting what she's lacking from her real parents, which is a shame. And this is how a lot of predators can feed on innocent people when that particular person, sometimes kids, are lacking something at home, which kind of opens the door to ne'er do wells to prey upon these particular people, which you're trying, we as a culture or society are trying to limit that kind of situation from happening. And I love this movie for this because it displays things like this without having to spell it out for you, but it's just scary enough, but uh, uh, but is set for the right tone for kids to see, where is scary enough where it's still good for kids. You know what I mean? It's not too dissimilar to Nightmare Before Christmas, whereas it's that right level of scary for young kids to still enjoy, and it's smart enough where it doesn't seem too childish, so the parents can't enjoy it either. Talking about themes of neglecting your children and the threat it could cause down the line. So it doesn't play their audience like they're stupid, which I thoroughly enjoy coming from a film or a TV show where you just, you know, you don't placate to a certain particular community where almost nobody else can really enjoy, and you play, you get some competent writers be involved in a particular project where everybody can enjoy, and you don't have to hold their hands while they're enjoying it, because everybody can understand when it comes to being neglected, not just a particular group of people where only they can understand and F everybody else. Like something like John Wick, everybody can understand like losing a pet because of some a-hole. We all can understand instead of just one fraction of community. It's not meant for PETA, it's meant for everybody else kind of situation. You didn't make John Wick for PETA. We made John Wick for everybody who loves not only action films, but also can understand the motivation behind the main character. But when Coraline gets the information from the other mother, who will later be known as Belham, which has turned into one of the most iconic movie villains of all time. And she explains to Coraline, if you want to stay here forever, all you need to do is allow me to sew buttons on your eyes. And Coraline's like, oh, F that, no. But then she's starting to realize, okay, this is like a bad idea. She pretends like she's going to bed, but she can't seem to wake up back into the real world. So now she has to find a way to sneak back through the doorway in order to get back to the real world. But she stopped by the other mother, who each time she visits slightly changes a little bit. Now she's at this point of like a skeletal, figure. And she takes Coraline into this mirror dungeon area, essentially like a timeout area, where Coraline is confronted by three spirits of children that other mother had stolen away and ultimately stole their life essence from. And you can see like different eras they come from based on their clothes. One of which is the sister of YB's grandmother, which is honestly like just sad. It's like, but the look on these ghosts are so good. And they warn Coraline about Bedham or Belham, that she's, she always wanted her own child, and that, something that she hasn't like want to love something that she hasn't had to make herself kind of situation, because everything seems like it's almost like sold on. She was the one who created that doll in the first place, because she creates dolls, throws it in the real world as like essentially like a two-way radio kind of situation, just to spy, to see like what that child is being neglected from, and use that to entice a child to come her way. And so the children asked Coraline, in order to let them rest, let their spirits rest, she has to find their eyes. Other Wybie, who Belham had created to give Coraline a special friend, but only this one that doesn't talk like real Wybie, tries to sneak her, sneaks her towards the doorway, and he can't go through with her because he's just kind of like made of straw or something like that. Just to get her, home. And of course, when later on we see what happened to him, like, holy crap, this, woman end up skinning this dude. It's like, holy, even though he's not real, it still is like a horrific thing. You see him, his clothes being like blowing in the wind like it's on like a laundry line. It's like, wow. But when Coraline gets home, she tries to give back the doll to Wybie, who doesn't believe her story, thinking she's like crazy or something. But she soon discovers that her parents are missing, and she finds like this doll made up between equal parts her father and mother. Come to realize that, oh my God, the other mother kidnapped my parents, trying to get me back into the other world. So, realizing she has to rescue her parents, she gears up, because shoot, I would have gotten some weapons or something like that to fight off anything I need to, and get like a bat or something. So she and the cat goes through the tunnel out into the other world, and the cat warns her, like, it's a trap, right? But she doesn't care. She needs to find her parents, because she still loves them, and she misses them, because she doesn't like the idea of like being alone and leaving them here. So the cat informs her that the other mother likes games. So if you challenge her, she can't help but, be enticed to do or make a deal. And this is very anime of me, because I can't help but think about this as I was going through this particular scene. I can't help but think about like Yugi versus Pegasus, in the Duelist Kingdom, at the end of the Duelist Kingdom arc, where Yugi challenges, Pegasus again to release the souls of the people that Pegasus stole. And of course, like Pegasus, the mom will cheat, because she's not going to give up on a kid that she can have for herself. So Coraline makes a deal with her. She will agree to stay and let other mother sew buttons on her eyes, only if she loses. But she want to play like a hide and seek game, or a hide and find, or at least find a hide and find game, whatever. Or hide and seek, I guess that's appropriate, whatever. But she made a deal, like give me some time to go find the other children's eyes that you took, and my parents. And if I manage to find them all, you gotta agree to let us all go. But if I lose, I'll stay here, no complaints, and I'll let you sew buttons on my eyes. That's the deal. So, other mother gives Coraline a hint. So Coraline goes out and realizes the spaces that she visited the last time she visit. The last time she came, the three places that she visited that other mother used to entice her, like, the oh, by the way, I kind of skipped over the fact that the neighbors actually, through like the second, arc of the film, or sorry, second act of the film, all like tried to do their own part in helping Coraline through this particular situation they don't really know the full scope of. Like the Russian who seemingly speaks to his circus mice speaks to him and saying like, like you shouldn't go back to that other spot. It's very dangerous kind of situation. And like the burlesque old ladies, provided Coraline with this, rock thing, elderstone, I think it's called. Is like a type of stone, usually glassy, with a naturally occurring hole through it. Such stones, which usually consist of flint, have been discovered by archaeologists in both Britain and Egypt. Commonly, they are found in northern Germany. So it's kind of like a like a, I don't say like a compass, but it's basically like you look through it and it helps you find what you seek. So she used that in order to find the eyes. She goes to the garden where earlier it was like a garden display making with the vibrant color flowers to make the look of Coraline. While in the real world, if you pay close attention, that drab, not fixed up garden in the real world has features of other mother. If you pay close attention, I didn't even notice until on my rewatch. Honestly, it was like, man, it's like very finely tuned details here. It's like very well hidden, and like it's kind of like where's Waldo kind of situation of information. It's the same way, like I said, with like the Spider-Verse films. It's like you gotta watch it at least quite a few times just to pick out certain things. My first watch of it, I only managed to pick out maybe like a dozen things that I personally recognize from being like a comic book reader and a Spider-Man fan. But other people have to point out other stuff they figured out. And then my rewatch of it, I managed to find out some extra stuff, but it's still more stuff that it's like at least probably well over 100 to 200 stuff throughout the Spider-Verse films that people have to make a list of to point out that you probably overlooked because it's so well hidden, or if you blink you miss it because it's just either in the background, or they might be overt about it, or it's in the mid-ground. You gotta be hyper focused on this kind of stuff. But anyway, Coraline goes to this garden where the father is, who did try to warn Coraline of the evilness of the mother. He holds one of the eyes that she needs. Why is it gotta be one eye each? Why couldn't it be a pair of eyes? But whatever. He hands one of the eyes to her before he disappears. And then Coraline goes to the burlesque area where the other sisters are at, where she managed to grab hold of one of the eyes they held while trying to avoid being attacked by dog bats. Because in the real world, those burlesque twins are not twins, they're not related, but they're friends, have like all these, little dogs, some of which they taxidermied after they passed. So Coraline managed to snatch an eyeball from them and finally go to the other Russian, who instead of being an actual person, is just a pile of clothes being puppeted by mice, who one of which ran off with one of the eyes, but the cat managed to uh, catch it. And kudos to the animator and the writers and the director, allowing us to actually see what a cat does with a mice they catch. It's like he's just bites into the sucker, but it's fake, so it's not crazy. But I love the Keith Davis lines like, I don't even like, mice on the best of times, or rats of the best of times. So now that Coraline got all the eyes, she goes inside and tricks other mother into thinking like she knows exactly where her parents are. Distracted because she peeped that her parents are in one of the snow globes. So Coraline throws the cat at her. The cat snatches off her button eyes, so she's kind of blind. She grabs the snow globe, but the entire place, in the room, turned into a giant web. And the cat and Coraline managed to sneak their way through the tunnel, close the door behind them, saves the parents, even though they have no recollection, despite being covered in snow, but have no recollection of the ordeal that occurred. And the ghosts of the children thank her for releasing them, but still warns them that she's not completely out of danger. She has to get rid of that cursed key that allow access to the other world. And it's like, I think a lot of people's slight issue, not a big one, not too dissimilar how some people feel about Matt Reeves' The Batman, where it kind of drags a little bit, because at this point we feel like we're at the end of the story. But Coraline goes to take the key out to this abandoned well on a hilltop near her house, to try to drop it in there, so that way nobody will ever gain access to this doorway again, and other mother could have no way into the real world. But her severed arm in the ordeal followed Coraline through and try to snatch Coraline and somehow drag her butt all the way back in the house to drag her through the doorway. It's like improbable. Luckily, Wybie shows up in the nick of time, because after talking with his grandmother about the whole situation, and she informing her about, what Coraline's description of the entire situation is very reminiscent of what transpired with her sister. He comes back, helps her destroy the mechanical hand of other mother, and then toss the remains and the key into the well and seal it up. So now that's the end of that. After the whole situation, there's a little bit more brightness to the world. The parents are fixing up the garden and having like a garden party with the neighbors and the landlord, who I didn't even realize was clearly like a black woman. And Wybie seems like a white kid at first, so maybe it's like the grandmother's children, one of her children married like a white person, maybe. I'm not sure, because it's like you just tell by the skin tone. It's like, oh, she's black. Oh, never, because I didn't pick up that, because like I said, it's been a long time. I completely forgot about that. They kind of like, oh, that's all the reaction I got out of it. It's not like a big deal. I was like, oh, didn't even pick up on that. Anyway, so Coraline, it ends with Coraline, having like a like a one-on-one talk with the grandmother about the experience and letting her know about the whole situation with her sister, giving her peace of mind that her sister's, finally being laid to rest. And that was Coraline. Honestly, incredible film, incredible film. And like, I love stop motion, animation. Like, they're so much fun. Um, like I have my, I brought up my slight nitpicks here and there, but all there were is just nitpicks. It's still more about this film that I haven't picked up on my rewatch. Like I said, it has been a while. I got as much as I can from this, but man, it's just like so much, done with this movie that like I'm in awe about. Like, kudos to this director and the writers behind this and the animators. This is a stellar performance all around. Incredibly done movie. It's been nominated. I don't know if it has actually won anything. Oh yeah, uh, for the Academy Awards, it was nominated for Best Animated Picture. But in American Film Institute, for Best 10 Movies, it won there. It won for Best Music in Animated Feature Production. Oh, I forgot about the musical score. The musical score in this is honestly phenomenal. I really love the tone this movie sets, especially the musical variety. Very well done. And this is the Annie Awards, mind you. It won for Best Character Design in Animated Feature Production, Best Production Design, yeah, it's the same thing. It's weird. Oh no, Best Character Design, Best Production Design, it won. And NSC International Animated Film Festival, it won Best Picture, or at least tied for Best Picture with another movie, but still technically won. British Academy Children's Awards, Best Feature Film, it won there. Cinema Audio Society Awards, it won for Lifetime Achievement with Henry Selick and Randy Thorne, like achievement, career achievement. San Francisco Film Critics Circle Awards, Best Animated Feature, it won there. And shame, like, Claire, Dakota Fanning. I'm shocked she hasn't like won any awards for this film, because honestly, she brought like a stellar performance out of this, and as well as Terry Hatcher, because honestly, she didn't have to do much, because the voice actors for the parents also provided a voice for the other mother and other father, but they didn't have to do much in terms of vocal cadence. It's just like maybe it's slight, but not enough for people to immediately pick up on. But it's just still subtle enough to make it like, one very drab kind of performance, of the real mother, just drab attitude, while the other one is a little high pitch and a little like this, and like, you're coming with, don't you dare disrespect your mother. Just the subtlety. And Terry Hatcher, incredible actress, plays that so well in terms of like frightening, subtle frightening, and then just like bleh, not bleh, like just like ugh, attitude of the real mother. Matter of fact, the real mother has the same attitude as Envy from Inside Out. If you put it like a side by side with these two characters, honestly, they have that same kind of attitude. But anyway, that is my thoughts on Coraline. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think, because this is, like I said, it's an amazing film. But I'll see you guys next time. Next week I'll have another set of 3 films to cover. But I'll leave those as a nice little surprise. And then the last week I'll cover 2 films to wrap up the month of October theme month. So by the week after, I'll get into Thanksgiving review month. Anyway, take care. I'll see you guys later. Have a nice night. Peace.